Hi, good morning, all. Thank you for being with us and bearing with us. We're just experiencing a bit of technical difficulties, but we will be starting the stream soon, so your patience is greatly appreciated. Hi, good morning, Dr. Powell.
Hi, Kadeen. How are you?
I am okay. Things beyond our control, but
Mm-hmm.
it seems it's. Oh my. So we are live now.
Okay.
Viewers, thank you very much to all of our viewers who have been very patient with us. I believe that what we'll do is go right into the presentation. Of course, my name is Kadeen Smith. I have here with me Dr. Christine Powell, and she's going to speak a bit on early childhood development. This would be a part of the Carib Web Dialogue, and the main sustainable development goal that we'll be focusing on today is SDG 4, which speaks to quality education. So, Dr. Powell, I know the technical difficulties, we weren't able to connect before, but if you are okay with sharing your screen and starting right away, we can begin.
All right. Well, let me have a go at it.
Present to everyone.
So, are you? Oh, wait a minute now. I need to.
That's fine.
are you seeing my first slide?
No,
Hello?
we're not seeing the presentation
Okay,
just
so
yet.
there was something else that I needed to do, I think. Let me come out
Just
of
share the
this. I
screen.
needed to pick share screen before. Okay, so that's the green arrow, share screen. All
Yes.
right, and then share. And then if I go now to the PowerPoint,
Yeah.
you're seeing it now?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so thank you very much, Ms. Smith, for inviting my institution, the Caribbean Institute for Health Research, to participate in your webinar series. For those who are wondering about the name, just to point out that we used to be the Tropical Medicine Research Institute, and we've had a name change since the 1st of August. So it's very new. So I'm going to be talking about early child development interventions, which can help us to move towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, and in particular, SDG 4. So within SDG 4, Target 2 actually speaks specifically to quality early childhood development and the provision of this care. So this is very important for early childhood development practitioners globally, because this is the first time that this has been specifically mentioned in any of these goals. You know, we had the Millennium Development Goals preceding these. Now, it's a big task. It's an uphill task, and thankfully, the focus is very much now on early childhood development and provision for our young children, because globally there is a major problem. The Lancet series on child development, we are now on to the third series, which was published just last month in October. And they have revised the estimate for children at risk of not achieving their full potential. So globally, it is estimated that more than 250 million children, or 43% of children under 5 years in low and middle income countries, are at risk of not achieving their full developmental potential because of stunting or exposure to extreme poverty. And this developmental potential encompasses such areas as their physical, cognitive, emotional, and social capabilities. So, just to give you an example of differences that we see between high and low socioeconomic groups, I'll show just two slides. And just to point out that these differences emerge very early in life, by about 12 months, between 12 and 18 months, or might even emerge earlier than that. And they will continue throughout the years, so that by the time these children reach primary school, they are already considerably behind and are not well equipped to benefit from schooling. This slide shows uh, some work that we had done here in Kingston, Jamaica, some time ago. However, it's still quite relevant. And it shows that the development, these are developmental levels, and these are children under 5. And it shows that the development of the lower socioeconomic group lagged behind the middle socioeconomic group, And these were from neighboring communities. So that by the time they were 5 years old, the gap was quite wide. Using some data from another country, from Bangladesh, again, we see that the gap starts in their case, the differences started to emerge in the second half of the first year of infancy and continued to, by the time they were 5, these are wealth quintiles. So the red line is the highest wealth quintile, and the blue line is the lowest wealth quintile, so the poorest ones. And as you can see, there's a big gap in terms of their IQs at 63 months. So we have a major task on our hands, and very briefly, we want to go through, just what we can do about it and what is the evidence thereof. The young child's brain is developing at an enormous rate, actually from conception through to 3 years and up to 5 years. This is the time for most rapid development, but also a time when the brain development would be quite vulnerable. And it is vulnerable to risks which can lead to deficits in brain structure and function and in cognitive and social emotional development. You'd probably all have seen this diagram before, but basically it just emphasizes that at the time of rapid development of the brain, that is also the time when certain things like seeing and hearing, receptive language, and speech production are developing at a rapid pace. So we must work to protect the child in these early years. There are lots of risks or negative influences that the children may be exposed to, and there are also things that can buffer the child. So in this first circle, we have some of the positive things that can buffer the child with nutrition and health, lots of stimulation, affection, and care. And on the outside, we're looking at the negative influences for stimulation, lack of affection, no consistent caregiver, and exposure to violence, which can cause stress during these early years. On this side, we have the biological factors, low birth weight, nutritional deficiencies, such as iron deficiency, iodine deficiency, and protein energy malnutrition. We also have infections, injuries, and then we have the social factors, poor housing, poor sanitation, and water. This center circle that I just showed you constitutes what has been described as nurturing care. And this came out of the new Lancet series, which I mentioned on child development. They describe, they put all of it into a package and called it nurturing care. And this nurturing care is provided by the parents, the family, and other caregivers. So the immediate environment of the child, but these are bolstered by the community, the larger community, and factors in the local and national level that can help to support these parents. And it comprises caregiver sensitivity to children's physical and emotional needs, protection from harm, provision of opportunities for exploration and learning, which we'll go into quite a bit, and interactions with young children that are responsive, emotionally supportive, and developmentally stimulating. So my presentation then will focus mainly on parenting programs that will help us to promote this nurturing care. And based on our experience here in Jamaica, we have done a lot of research in this area. So I will use, as time is short, I will use mostly the studies from Jamaica, but also mention some other programs where I can. Now, 30 years ago, we started a major study, and it's the Jamaica supplementation and stimulation trial. And this was based on, questions that were unanswered from previous work that we had done. We had done work on stimulation in severely malnourished children, in community children, and we had found that providing stimulation through home visits with the mother or main caregiver could improve the development of children who were at risk for poor development. So we wanted to see if adding a nutrition supplement would make some additional, bring about some additional benefits. So this was our study design. We were working with stunted children, and stunting, this is children who are short for their age based on nutritional poor intake. And we recruited children from poor neighborhoods right across Kingston, and they were randomized to 4 groups. All children had weekly visits and access to medical care. In addition, one group got a nutritional supplement, one group got stimulation, and the other group got both treatments. We also compared them to a group of non-stunted children, so these were well-nourished children from their same neighborhoods. The stimulation comprised a weekly 1-hour home visit by community health aides. And these are paraprofessionals who work within the Ministry of Health. They are assigned to health centers, and part of their visit core duties would be home visiting for health care. So we were adding now early stimulation to their duties, although those that were involved in these studies were totally dedicated to this particular study. The play session was with the mother or main caregiver and child, and the intervention was provided for 2 years. The focus was on enhancing mother-child interactions, um, lots of activities to promote the child's language development. We used a lot of praise both for the child and the mother to boost their self-confidence and improve the mother's confidence in bringing up her child. And we shared with her activities that could help her to promote her child's development. We actually carried the toys, these were homemade toys, and we left them in the home for a week and exchanged them on the next visit. The results were, at the end of the 2-year trial, each intervention benefited the children's development. And the group that received both treatments attained developmental levels similar to the well-nourished non-stunted group. We followed them through adolescence, and while the supplementation benefits have faded, the benefits from stimulation for cognition were sustained over time, and benefits for education and psychosocial functioning also emerged. And this graph shows the development over time. And just to say that at age 22 years, we could still see a benefit in terms of their IQs for the group that received the intervention. So at age 22 years, the group that received stimulation had higher IQs, better educational attainment, improved mental health indicators. They were involved in less violent behavior, and very importantly, they had 25% higher average lifetime monthly earning. So this was the first study, long-term follow-up of its kind in a developing country, where we were able to actually show the economic benefit. And this study has been quite influential in influencing policymakers in terms of promoting early childhood development. So the goals then of investing in young children is that children should have healthy growth and achieve their cognitive and social emotional potential, that they are able to benefit from later educational opportunities. So this is preparing them for, SDG 4, that they become successful, productive adults. This is preparing them for some of the other SDGs, and benefits for national development also would encompass some of the other SDGs. There are many sectors which are involved in young child development, nutrition, in terms of healthy growth, ensuring that their micronutrients such as iron are, appropriately taken care of. The health sector, definitely. Social protection to provide safety nets against poverty, such as conditional cash transfers. Those are quite popular now. And the education sector. And integrating child development into these services is being promoted. But since my focus is children under 3 years, actually, currently, it's the health services that would be the best candidate for integration, as they reach all children under 3. However, program administrators have limited information.
Hi, Dr. Powell.
Yes. Yes. Hello. Have I lost you? Oops. Hi, Kadeen. Have I lost you?
Hi, you're fine. You're fine. It's just that we're not seeing the PowerPoint.
Okay, so let me go back to the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
All right. Are you seeing it? Hello?
Not just yet.
Oh, so I would need to go back to share screen.
Possibly, yes.
I'm getting it. Screen share. Okay. Oh, here we go. Come on. Come on. Sure.
Yeah, this happens sometimes.
Share screen. Okay.
It seems like you're back.
Okay. I think what had happened, because it had this little thing at the bottom was hiding some of the information, and I intended to pick hide, and I must have picked stop sharing. So I'll leave it where it is. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, so very quickly then, integration has several advantages in terms of delivery mechanism and the financial advantages. But the disadvantage is that multi-sectoral groups are very difficult to set up and maintain and coordinate. So this must, be well organized and maintained and followed. And within each of the sharing entities, by adding an additional service, we must ensure that their service components are maintained to the same high level that they had before. So as I said, in the Caribbean, the health sector is probably the most appropriate to deliver early childhood programs to improve parenting practices. And we have the evidence base for this. However, one should always look around for appropriate sectors within their own context. The time is short, so I'm going to rush through this one. We actually did a study to see if we could integrate into the health services, and we used nutrition clinics and the community health aides that were actually employed to the clinics. And what we found was that the children's developmental levels improved after 1 year of intervention. Mothers' parenting practices improved. So this was very important. So not only did their knowledge improve, but they were also reporting that, they were doing the things, praising their child more, reading them books, telling them they love them, that type of thing. And interestingly, we also found, that it was helpful to the mothers as well, in that though they were reporting fewer depressive symptoms. So it was feasible to use existing staff to integrate child development activities into primary healthcare services for undernourished children, and there was no disadvantage in the nutrition service that was already offered. This is a program that some of our viewers from other islands in the Caribbean would know very well, the ECHO program. And this, again, is using the existing healthcare services for children and families at risk, building on existing healthcare systems to deliver an integrated intervention that improves child development in disadvantaged families. They use community health aides and they use the home visiting model. And for sustainability, it's built into the activities that they're expected to do. So there are two programs that we have, worked on. We did actually feasibility studies on. So for those, who felt that home visiting was too intensive and expensive and so on, we actually developed a program where we would show parenting videos in the health centers while the parents waited to receive their services. And it is called What You Do with Baby Really Matters. And it is now available through the Inter-American Development Bank. So we had a pilot in Antigua, Jamaica, and St. Lucia, and it was integrating parenting into routine health visits. We developed DVDs showing mothers practicing behaviors that we wanted to encourage. We covered such topics as talking with baby, praising baby, looking at books, and play activities. And then the community health workers were trained to provide a demonstration and practice after the parents had seen the DVDs. So there are 9 modules, and they're very nice, and the parents quite like them. For the project, we actually provided the TVs and DVDs. But if one was going to institute it now, they would have to ensure that equipment was available. And we also had message cards that the parents could take home that reinforce the message that was seen in the DVD. and books and a puzzle. This just shows some of the practice activities that the community health aide did with the parents and their children after the discussion. And you can see, you know, the baby enjoying it, mother listening very carefully and practicing. So we found benefits to the children's cognition, to the parents' knowledge of child development. There was a tendency for them to provide more learning materials when compared to a control group that were not exposed to the program. So it was possible to improve young children's cognition by adding the intervention to primary healthcare services without any additional staff, without asking the parents to come in, for any additional visits, and it was done while they were waiting. So that holds a lot of promise. Now, our next major effort is called Reach Up, and this is an early childhood parenting program which is based on the Jamaica home visit program that I described in the intervention with the stimulation and the supplementation. So what we have done is taken all of our materials, refresh them because that project was done in the mid-1980s. So we've refreshed them, brought them into the 21st century, and we've developed a complete training package which is available on the web, but one has to register and be approved and so on for it. And the aim is to increase the capacities of implementing agencies. So, for agencies who want to deliver programs for children under 3 and their parents, they will probably want to explore Reach Up. The package contains weekly curriculum, but we also now have a fortnightly curriculum, a supervisor's manual and a checklist to help the supervisor, a training manual with demonstration visitors. So this is very important because it provides a 10-day training for those who are going to implement. So those who are going to supervise and those who are going to actually carry out the home visiting. So this is a home visiting. The videos were filmed in Jamaica, Peru, and Bangladesh. There are 3 long ones which show what a complete visit should look like. And then there are several short ones which depict specific activities and concepts in the training. We also have a manual which helps with program preparations, decisions that you need to make up front, and cultural adaptation guidelines, because it is important that the materials should be appropriate within the context of the program. So the books and pictures and songs and so on need to be adapted to the local context. And this helps with that. We have a toy manual which shows all the play materials, which are homemade. Some might have to be produced commercially depending on the size of the program, but it shows how to make all the materials. So these instructions and manuals are available at the Reach Up site online. Reach Up is now in several countries. As you can see, we have quite an international spread, and look forward to further spread in the new year. So in conclusion then, we know that child development is at risk, but we also know that there are good, effective programs that can be implemented. And these ECD programs have the potential to impact not only SDG 4, but several of the other SDGs. I didn't have time to go into all of this, But there's evidence that early childhood is the most effective and cost-efficient time to ensure that children can benefit from school and later opportunities. However, it costs, and government commitment is essential to ensure access to quality programs, especially for the lowest income groups. Integration and coordination among sectors is essential, and the health sector um, is important for children from birth to 3. So now, that's the presentation. So I'm going to press, I think I should just press hide. Nope, not working. So I will come out of it. Let me minimize and screen share. Come on, screen share. Okay. So I'm back with you.
Yes. So thank you very much for that, Dr. Powell. And I'm going to just go right into the questions. I would have shared a couple of questions with you but we have one question that we just received, and it's, what measures are in place to support unemployed and underprivileged parents or homes to be effective in the development of their children prior to primary school?
Well, I'm not quite sure. What is there an emphasis on underemployed or unemployed or so on? Because what I just described requires only a few minutes per day, each day. So that once the parents have the information and the knowledge, these are things that they would spend a little time to practice with their child each day. So, for instance, if they're going to show them pictures, they sit quietly, sit the child on their lap or beside them, and they ask the child, "What is this?" And there's a lot of interaction, and they praise the child and so on. So this doesn't require a lot of time, from the parent.
Right. Thank you so much. And then you spoke a bit about the need for that government intervention. So we have a couple questions, and of course it's based on your knowledge. So has the government instituted any specific programs to address behavioral or achievement standards among boys? And if so, can you describe them, or are there any measurable outcomes?
Yeah, so this came in beforehand, and there was, a strong gendered emphasis. So I'm not really in a position to say specifically what there is in place here in Jamaica in terms of targeting boys specifically. I know that, there has been discussions that, at the high school level, whether they benefit more from being in co-ed classes or being in single sex classes, whether those who have particular challenges in terms of aggressive behaviors and so on, if they should be in special places, all of this discussion has been going on. So I'm not really in a position to answer that, but I know that for those, we actually have another stream of research that looks at promoting social and emotional competence among children. And this is done through interventions in the classroom where the teachers are equipped with better classroom management skills that help to, reduce aggressive behavior and to cut out all the beating and so on that is going on.
Okay, great. Thank you. And coming from that list of questions as well, We had some questions such as girls outperforming boys in educational achievements, and if so, in which subject areas, if this has been measured. Also, are boys exhibiting more behavioral issues than girls? And if you can give some examples.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have any feedback on those questions as well.
Okay. So in terms of the preschool years going into grade 1,
Yeah.
there is the Jamaican preschool child profile study done by Professor Samsvaughan. And this was following a cohort of children starting, I think, at 5 to 6 years, and then following them through grade 1 and through grade 3. And while there was a tendency for girls to have a slightly better performance, this wasn't statistically significant. So we would actually say that their performance was similar at those levels. From some other work that we had done, we had seen some differences between boys and girls quite early. I think around about 2 to 3. Probably based on the fact that maybe the girls mature a bit faster. But then these differences disappeared later on. Now, in another study looking at grade 5 children in primary school across Kingston, and this was really looking at involvement, in aggressive behavior and so on. We did find differences, that boys were more involved in aggressive behavior. And in that study, we also found that in those settings, the boys were performing worse off than the girls. So this was at about age 10, grade 5 would be about age 10. And those with more aggressive tendencies were performing worse off than those with less involvement in aggression.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that. And I know we are approaching that 11 a.m. mark over here, and it would be 10 a.m. over there. So, Dr. Powell, thank you so much for giving us your time. And if there's anything that you'd like to say in closing regarding the project, regarding early childhood development, anything that you'd like to share with our audience?
Well, I would just like to say I'm very encouraged by the movement towards ensuring that our young children are adequately prepared for school. We have mastered I think the preschool period, the 4 to 5, 6 provisions, but we need to look quite seriously at provisions for the birth to 3 period, because as I've shown that these deficits start early and can continue throughout pretty much throughout life. So we really want to prevent the deficits, or if they occur, to have interventions in place to help to improve these children's development. So we must really keep working at it and making strong commitments. The time is right, the movement is good, the investments are there, and we really must take advantage of these.
I agree. Thank you so much. Well, I just want to thank our viewers for staying with us, for joining the broadcast, and for sharing your questions. Dr. Powell, I want to thank you and your entire team for joining us today and providing this information, giving us your feedback, and sharing a bit about your project and what you've been doing in this area. I'd just like to remind our audience to keep following the Caribbean Future Forum Facebook page, as well as the United Nations Caribbean Facebook page. We'll continue the discussion on different ways we can achieve the Sustainable Development Goals in the Caribbean region. So you can go ahead and join our social media pages and stay updated with that. Dr. Powell, thank you very much again.
You're
And
welcome. It was a pleasure. Bye.
thank you. And to everyone else, do enjoy your day.